Alright, today our joke is, what's the best way to talk to monsters? And here's a scary monster for you because I don't really want to draw one. And the best way to talk to monsters is from a distance. Because you don't have to stand close to them. Really, really lame joke, but that's okay. Our key topic for today is ordering numbers. Ordering numbers is about placing rational and irrational numbers in order. Alright, whoops. Okay, so we're going to go through our steps. Our first step is convert to decimal. If it is a fraction, you're going to divide numerator, or the top, by the denominator. Or you're going to approximate your square roots. Alright, that's your first step. Your second step is to order your decimals. And your last step is to rewrite with original terms. Original terms. That says terms. Apparently I can't do ours. That's what that is. Original terms. Alright, so let's go to our first example. Okay, so our first example is going to be the square root of 28 is blank 43 over 8. Alright, the first thing you're going to do, alright, just kidding, yours should say the square root of 26. Okay, so we're going to have to make that into a decimal, so the square root of 25 is the closest perfect square, is less than the square root of 26, less than which square root is bigger than 26? 36. Okay, so 5 is less than the square root of 26, less than 6. Because we simplify those radicals. Alright, so if we look at that, the square root of 26 is really close to 25. So we really shouldn't even make a, since 25 and 36 are so far apart, and 26 is so close to 25, we're going to say it's about 5 and 1/10. So that's what this one is over here. Alright, we go to the next one, which is 43/8. We do 43 divided by 8. 8 goes into 43 5 times. Subtract 40, we get 3. Add a decimal, bring the decimal up. Add a 0. Bring down the 0. 8 goes into 30 3 times. We subtract 24, and we get 6. We could keep going, but no matter what's going to keep on going, this is going to be 5 and 3/10 something. But since here we already know that this is 5 and 1/10, this is 5 and 3/10 with something, it's not going to get smaller, so we can say that that one is bigger. And since there's a line here, we don't have to rewrite it. It's already in its original terms. Alright, going on to our next example. Alright, our next example says that we need to list from least to greatest, which means smallest to biggest. 5 is already in a decimal form, so we gotta get that square root of 2 there. So the square root of 1 is less than the square root of 2, which is less than 4 is the next perfect square. Okay, so we figured out which to sandwich those, okay. Then we simplify the radicals. 1 is less than the square root of 2, less than 2. We're going to draw a number line for this one because as much as 2 seems really close to 1, 2 is also really close to 4. So if we look at it, it's really not that far off. So we're going to estimate this actually at about 1 4/10. Because it's really close, okay? So the square root of 2 is about 1 4/10. Alright, our next one is the negative 1/3. So we have to make 1/3 into a decimal. So numerator, top, which is 1, divided by denominator, which is the bottom, which is 3. 3 goes into 1 0 times, add a decimal, bring it up, add a 0. 3 goes into 10 3 times, we subtract 9, we get 1, bring down the 0. We see how we get 10 again? If we put 3, we're going to get 9, we get a 1, bring down the 0. We're going to keep getting that, so it's actually 0 and 3 tenths repeating. But don't forget about that negative sign. It's negative 0 and 3 tenths repeating. Alright, so their next step is to order the decimals. We're going from least to greatest. Our smallest here is negative 0 and 3 tenths repeating because it's a negative. It's our only negative. Then we have 0 and 45 hundredths. Then 1 and 4 tenths. And then 5. This one's really easy because a negative is going to be your smallest, then 0 and something, and then 1 and 4 tenths because it's 1, and then 5. Alright, our last one is to rewrite with original terms. So this was originally negative 1/3. Then we had 0 and 45 hundredths. 1 and 4 tenths was originally square root of 2. And 5 was 5. So here is our final answer. Alright, next example. Alright, with this example we have 4/3. So we're going to first start off by doing 4 divided by 3, numerator divided by denominator. 3 goes into 4 once, subtract 3, we get 1, add decimal, bring down the 0. 3 goes into 10 3 times, subtract 9. We get that 1 again, which means we're going to get that repeating. So 4/3 is 1 and 3 tenths repeating. Then we have the opposite of the square root of 5. So the square root of 5 is sandwiched between the square root of 4 and the square root of 9, which is between 2 and 3 when we simplify those radicals. Okay, so then we're going to, 5 is pretty close to 4, so we're going to estimate that at about 2 and 1/10. But don't forget about that opposite sign. It's negative 2 and 1/10. Okay, and then this one, negative 2 and 5/10 is already in its decimal form. So then we have the square root of 3, which is between the square root of 1 and the square root of 4. So it's between 1 and 4. Earlier we did, or 2, and earlier we did the square root of 2, and we said that was 1.4. So this one again, we're going to say it's about 1 and 8 tenths. It's close to that 2, but it's kind of still in that middle. Alright, then we order our decimals, just the decimals. And remember we're going from greatest to least, so which one is our biggest? Here our biggest is 1 and 8 tenths, then 1 and 3 tenths repeating. When we go into negatives, remember that negative 2 and 1/10 is closer to 0, so that's going to be bigger than negative 2 and 5/10. Alright, and our last step is to use our original terms. So this 1 and 8 tenths was originally square root of 3. This 1 and 3 tenths repeating was originally 4/3. Negative 2 and 1/10 was originally the opposite of the square root of 5. And this was originally negative 2 and 5/10. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our final answer. Going on to our last example, we have order on the number line, the square root of 10, 2/3, 0 and 67 hundredths, and the square root of 19. So we're going to have to find out the square root of 10 is between the square root of 9 and the square root of 16, which is between 3 and 4. 10 is really close to 9, so we're going to estimate this as about 3 and 1/10 without doing that number line, because 10 is so close to 3, or so close to 9. So it has to be really close to 3. Alright, 2/3. We're going to do 2 divided by 3, numerator divided by denominator. 3 goes into 2 0 times, decimals. 3 goes into 26 times, subtract 18. We get a 2, bring down that 0. we're going to keep getting 20, so this is actually going to be 0 and 6/10 repeating. 0 and 67/100 is already in its wonderful decimal form. So then we have square root of 19, so that's going to be in between 16 and the next perfect square is 25. Okay, so it's between 4 and 5. This one we actually are going to make a number line for because it's pretty close. So here's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, whoops, 25. And 19's way over here. So we're going to estimate that at about 4 and 3/10. It's not super close. Here's the middle about, so it's a little in between the middle and where it's supposed to be. So this is 4 and 3/10. They are all positive, so when we put these on the number line, I'm going to start with 0 because it's all, and I'm actually going to go by halves or by 0.5s. So here's 0 and 5/10, 1, 1 and 5/10, 2, 2 and 5/10, 3, 3 and 5/10, 4, 4 and 5/10, and 5. That way we can get it a little bit more separated. Okay, our first one that we're going to plot is 3 and 1/10, which is going to be in between 3 and 3 and 5/10, so about here. When we label it, we want to use its original form, which is the square root of 10. Our next one, we have 2/3 and 67/100. We have to decide which one comes first. Well, this one, 2/3 is 0.666666. So that 0.666666, since it's 6, that's going to come first. So we're going to put that pretty close to 0 and 5/10. And that's going to be 2/3. And I'm going to label that above, where my next one, I'm going to first put it in green so you guys can see it. It's really, really, really close, and I'm going to label it underneath as 0 and 67/100. And our last one is 4 and 3/10, which is right about here, and that's actually the square root of 19. There you have it. Alright, so what is always change things? Always change to decimals. And read directions. Make sure you know if you're doing least to greatest or greatest to least. Alright, have a good day. Bye.